Hi everybody, this is Jim Tolles. I'm a spiritual teacher and I blog regularly at spiritualawakeningprocess.com. And today I wanted to talk about soulmates, twin flames, and other romantic connections you make on the spiritual path. This, of course, is a hugely popular topic, and it's something that has become another big goal. As always, when I talk about goals, those are usually these hard ego ideas, these achievements we want to achieve, these goals we want to make happen in our lives. And it causes so much pain and suffering because the fundamental truth of the spiritual path is everything is love. This isn't something that we come to with any sort of naive romantic idea. This is part of the reason why I've vlogged about, and I believe I did a video about, what is love. Because until you really understand what love is and how it functions in your life, you're not going to really understand the romantic connections you're drawing to you. As most connections you draw, regardless if they're romantic or not, are about karma. They're about how are we healing different parts of ourselves, how are we seeing different parts of ourselves that we don't understand. And the idea of the soulmate, and it gets so tricky when we start to create these ideas and these mythologies. The idea of the soulmate, and I'm not saying they don't exist, but when we start to kind of create these definitions, we're starting to create an idea, and ideas don't exist. People exist, relationships exist, ideas don't. For the most part, they're just trying to express something that's happened or something we'd like to have happen. Well, the soulmate, they tend to be kind of our opposite. They kind of have all the pieces we don't have. And so the idea, of course, right, this is finding your other half, right? The two come together and then they create a whole. This is something that I believe should only be temporary. That when you come to a soulmate, the encouragement is to learn what these other pieces of the puzzle you don't have are, to see those blind spots that your soulmate reflects you. In this way, when some people have an awakening, finding the soulmate can be really, really powerful. It can spark the awakening, or it can be kind of a furtherance of the embodied state of bringing more awareness into your daily life. That's what I mean by embodied. It's not some sort of magical thing. It's just living from this awareness in every day. So when you find a soulmate, what happens is like, wow, there's this huge, huge attraction. You can't imagine not being with this person, but there can also be these huge repulsions because suddenly you're seeing parts of yourself you really don't like. So that's why there's such a charged energy. And for those who've had an awakening, it becomes more intense. And so there's just energy going everywhere. This is where agreements and relationship boundaries are critical. If you don't really start to talk about these things, about what you need and how you're learning and what's going on for you, it just kind of blows up. There's so much naivety in our relationships that suddenly some other partner will immediately know everything that you want them to know. This goes for men and women. And so here's this really highly charged, energetic relationship, and two people aren't talking about how are we going to make space, or how are we going to hold this thing together. And it's not that you can control it. You can't. But you can bring way more intention to it than sort of the naive, let's just have lots of sex in the bedroom, and it's hot and heavy and then everything blows up. It is an amazing opportunity to learn. I mean, as far as anyone who feels like a soulmate in your life, this person is bringing with you so many gifts of getting you to understand you, to really know you. And if you both, and this is really important, if you both engage with that process of knowing yourselves better, you can grow tremendously. It becomes one of the most amazing relationships you can call into in your life. And so what arises from this is an evolution. And that evolution may mean the end of the relationship, which is another thing that people have to get comfortable with. Regardless of the spiritual path, relationships don't last. They never last. We're all trying to force them into the till death do us part thing, but even that means they didn't last. It just meant that they finally ended when somebody died, which is kind of morbid if you think about it. And a lot of people in relationships, by the time they get to that point, have been miserable for a long time because they're just trying to get to that point because that's what they thought they were supposed to do. Relationships have a natural evolution, a natural breath of beginning, middle, and end, a rising and a passing. And this is important. It's extremely important, especially for those of you who've awakened, because you're going through a karmic cleanup. If you're really embracing it and you're not trying to hold out and wait this thing out, you're cleaning out a lot of old pain. And as you clean out that old pain, you're growing. And when you grow, you need more space. And so that's why the relationship agreements you create with a soulmate are absolutely critically important. And if at some point you've been doing a lot of learning and your soulmate hasn't, you'll start to feel the charge kind of fade out. It'll start to kind of go away, because part of the charge was that learning opportunity, and your soul is like, aha, here's a place where I can really grow. Because I have to encourage you to understand that love is everywhere. And so having a loving relationship with somebody isn't actually that hard. And it's not actually that hard to find a partner. You just keep going inside and you feel the space of love, and that's what you express in the world. And so you can find different partners. They're just going to feel very different. Love from the awakened space is very different than the karmic space. The karmic space is all about need and attachment. It's like, I have to have this person. I have to have them. Love isn't like that. Love is like, I would enjoy this person. And so you bring more of your own joy in, because there's that openness to it. I often describe an awakened love is an open hand. So your person that you love, in the intimate romantic sense, can land into your life and can fly away. And they do the same for you if it's a healthy relationship. But most relationships are like closed fists, where we're trying to hold on to each other, and when we don't, we start punching each other. And this is just the truth of the matter for most people. And as you become more sensitive to yourself, you start to see how you've been punching yourself and other people through most relationships, and just how unhealthy a lot of it has been. Now, the twin flame, that's become the new flavor. I think a lot of people got disillusioned with the soulmate phenomena. You realize how much of a karmic kick in the pants it was, and was like, well, there's got to be something better than this. So the twin flame is like your twin. So you have similar blind spots and similar strengths. And so that can equally be powerful. You're likely to have similar life paths, and so that's kind of the hope, is that, since your paths may be a lot closer together than a soulmate's, which can be very opposite to you. You could have like a soulmate that's very extroverted and you're very introverted, and so the soulmate's always out doing stuff and you want to stay home and watch movies, and so that can create a lot of tension. But in that situation, the extrovert's helping pull the introvert out into the world, and the introvert's helping pull the extrovert back into the inner world. That's the gift. With a twin flame, it's like two extroverts, and so the idea that a lot of people have is you'll just be running around doing lots of the same extroverted stuff. And of course, it brings with it its other, set of challenges, because now you're going to see somebody, if you have a lot of issues with pride, this person has a lot of issues with pride, and so you have to look at this pride, being mirrored back to you. And so it also can be a great growing experience. And in general, what you find with a lot of the soul connections, these deeper loving connections, is just how deeply you can love. And that's part of moving illusion away, all these barriers away from our hearts. We can connect deeper and deeper. If you want to have a fun little exercise, I encourage you and a partner to go put on a whole bunch of clothes and a whole bunch of jackets and hug each other and see how intimate that feels. And then take a jacket off and hug again. And then take another jacket off and hug again. And you go like this for as long as you want to, depending on the relationship you're in and what's permissible. And about the time like skin touches skin, it's incredible. And this is how we're coming into love. And so sometimes with awakening, what happens is you just had all your clothes ripped off. And so now you can connect way deeply to everyone. And for the people who have less in the way, it's easier to connect even more deeply. So a lot of this initial love really is just ourselves. We're like, wow, I just feel amazing. I feel like I can connect to everyone. This is a beautiful, beautiful time in your life. But it's also an important time to get comfortable in your own space, to start to understand what your needs and your boundaries are, not just give your love away like this. Because while love is ultimately in all things, it's important to make sure you're focusing your energy inside, to really know what's inside, to really understand yourself, so you don't try to hide in relationships, which is often what people are trying to do. Now, this is a common thing for a lot of people that want to hide out in a romantic relationship as their goal. This is what they really want. So there you are, just getting used to being naked. It really is. It does feel like this big kind of striptease where you're pulling off all these layers, and initially the vulnerability can be overwhelming for a lot of people. But you just keep taking layers off. And as you take more layers off and you meet other people who've done the same, it kind of doesn't matter if they're a soulmate or a twin flame or some other term. What starts to matter more is if there's love, and love is what is arising, trusting what relationship appears. Just trust it. Relationships are super, super smart. There's not a lot that you need to do. Trust the relationships that are already coming into your life. They're coming with all the right lessons, all the right people, all the right things you need to see about yourself. In some respects, there's a need to stop the search, to stop looking outside what is already here. Now, obviously, in the spiritual path, there are times to move forward, to embrace things, to try new things. But especially during awakening, it really is a time to come inside, say like, what is love to me? How have I experienced love? And to really explore it first. And then if a soulmate or twin flame or somebody else comes up with this amazing connection for you, pay attention to how you feel connected. What's coming up? What may be hiding? Right? You don't want to just focus on the good stuff. If you can make space for the darkness to understand it, that light of understanding dispels the darkness. If you ignore the darkness, it grows in time and it becomes a festering wound that will destroy yourself and anything else in your life, including deep relationships. I've definitely had plenty of people that will write to me and talk about having had some wonderful person, but they didn't feel worthy of it, right? And that lack of self-worth is that inner darkness. They couldn't embrace this amazing love in their life because they didn't feel like they deserved it. And so they run away to a relationship that's much more unhealthy, precisely to work that out. But most people don't understand that, and so now they're upset because they've got somebody who's more abusive in some way, or just more unhealthy generally. They could be abusive to themselves and not to the other person. It's still abuse is there. When there's abuse within us, there's abuse going on for another person because we're all interconnected. So these are some thoughts about soulmates and twin flames, and really embracing them as means to learn more about ourselves. They will last as long as they will last. And love is always changing. So keep your hearts open. If a relationship is passing, let it pass, and keep your heart open to this next iteration of love in whatever form it's going to show up in your life. Once again, my name is Jim Tolles, and you can find more from me at spiritualawakeningprocess.com. Have a beautiful day.